You ever have a day that starts off so average it's practically allergic to excitement? That was my Tuesday. Same coffee, same chair, same stack of papers to grade. But at 7:43 p.m., life knocked, literally, and decided average was overrated. I was still wearing my red pin like a badge of honor, halfway through dissecting essays on Of Mice and Men, when the doorbell rang. Monica, my wife of 20 years, was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables like she had a grudge against carrots. When I opened the door, I wasn't expecting the kid. Tall, nervous, eyes that had my shape but someone else's steadiness. "Mr. Keller?" he asked, voice cracking. "I'm your son." Now, I taught high school for decades, dealt with all kinds of teenage nonsense, but that tilted my world sideways. Jessica Brenner. College. A summer fling that ended when the leaves started turning. Could she have? "My mother was Jessica Brenner," he said, eyes locked on mine. "Born January 8th, 2008. Adam." Monica's voice broke through from the kitchen. "Who's at the door?" She walked in just in time to hear me say, "He says he's my son." The towel dropped. So did her expression. Her fury was instant, like she'd been waiting for an excuse to detonate. "You cheated on me," she hissed. "I didn't know," I said. "I swear to God, Monica." "Don't lie to me," she snapped. "Not with the evidence standing right here." "Eli." "Yeah, that was his name." Pulled out a birth certificate and a photo that might as well have been a time machine. Me and Jessica, arm around her. Summer smiles. Stupid young love. Monica didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just turned to me with the kind of cold resolve you usually see in courtroom dramas and said, "Get out." And I did, with a weekend bag she'd packed for our last lake trip still in the closet. Funny how fast things go from romantic to ironic. I didn't go far. Just across town to the Holiday Inn Express, room 214. The room was beige, the kind of beige that screams corporate neutrality. I sat on the edge of the bed, wondering how the hell a quiet Tuesday had turned into a family reunion episode gone wrong. Monica sent one text. "Please don't come back." Nothing else. And that's where it began. Not the betrayal. No. Turns out, that was just the opening act. This was where the unraveling started. The kind that ends not with a bang, but a calculated storm. The thing about sleeping in a motel room after your marriage implodes is this. The silence isn't peaceful. It's loud. It's got weight. And if you're not careful, it'll crawl into your chest and start rearranging the furniture. I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece together where everything went sideways. It wasn't the kid's fault. Eli was just the messenger. The ghost of a summer past with a photo album to prove it. Monica, though, she wasn't just angry. She was surgical. She'd kicked me out of our life with all the emotional precision of a surgeon removing a tumor. Necessary. Cold. No anesthesia. Morning hit like a hangover without the fun night before. I texted Eli. "Breakfast?" He responded with a thumbs up. That's how you know someone's under 25. They reply like a Yelp review. We met at a diner called Millie's. The kind of place with sticky menus and waitresses who call you hon. He ordered pancakes. I got coffee. Neither of us touched our food. "You okay?" he asked. I laughed. Not because anything was funny. Just because the question was absurd. "Not really." "You." He looked down at his plate. "I didn't mean to blow up your life." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, well, it was already a time bomb. You just happened to be holding the stopwatch." After breakfast, we walked to the parking lot in silence. It was awkward. Like trying to bond with someone over a car crash neither of you meant to be in. That afternoon, Monica's sister called me. Not Monica. Her sister. "She's not doing well," she said. "She's angry." "No kidding. She also thinks you've been lying for years." I sighed. "I didn't know. I swear. But maybe that doesn't matter." The call ended with a click. Not even a goodbye. That's the kind of PR I was dealing with now. Husband of the year turned deadbeat dad in 24 hours. That night, back at the motel, I got another message from Monica. Just 3 words. "Who is Rachel?" "Rachel?" I blinked at the screen. And that's when I realized. This wasn't about Eli anymore. Monica had opened the vault. And whatever she thought she'd found was going to make this mess even messier. Who is Rachel? That was the message. No context. No punctuation. Just a name Monica had never said out loud before. At least not to me. I stared at it for a long time. Long enough that the motel room started to feel smaller, like the walls knew what I didn't. Now, There's something you need to understand about Rachel. She was a ghost. Not a scandal. Not a fling. She was someone I used to be friends with before Monica and I got serious. A name from the past, filed away in the almost but didn't drawer of life. Nothing happened. Except, of course, the version Monica had apparently found on her internet treasure hunt. So I called. She answered. Cold. So now you want to talk? What are you talking about? I said. The email, Adam. The one from 2014. You said you wish things were different. I went silent. Not because I remembered it, but because I didn't. And that somehow made it worse. I didn't. Nothing happened between us, Rachel. Ever. No, she said. But you wanted it to. You just never had the guts. And just like that, my defense collapsed under the weight of a maybe. Later that night, Monica texted again. You lied to me for years. Even when you didn't cheat, you still lied. I didn't reply. I couldn't argue with that. Sometimes omission isn't about secrets, it's about hope. Hope that the past stays put. That old flames don't reignite. That words typed in moments of doubt don't become the lit match someone finds years later. The next morning, I met Eli again. He brought coffee this time. I looked you up, he said. You're not who I expected. Disappointed? He shrugged. Confused. I smiled at that. Welcome to the family. He hesitated. Did you ever love her? Monica. No. My mom. Now that one hit different. I don't know, I said. Maybe. For a minute. But it was never what it could have been. Eli nodded. Guess that runs in the family. By the time I got back to the motel, there was an envelope waiting for me at the front desk. No return address. Just my name. Inside? A photo. Monica. With someone else. Arm in arm. Restaurant patio. Smiling. My smile. On someone else's face. I sat down. Heart calm. Hands steady. Because in that moment, I knew we were done trading secrets. Now came the part where I stopped reacting. And started planning. There's a special kind of clarity that settles in once you stop trying to fix something that's already ash. Like realizing the house burned down a long time ago. You just didn't notice until the roof caved in. That photo Monica left me at the motel? It wasn't meant to break me. No, Monica's smarter than that. It was a warning shot. A power play. Look what I can do, Adam. Translation. I can ruin you back. And here's the kicker. She assumed I still had something to lose. I didn't. After a few minutes of quiet staring, I slid the photo back into the envelope, folded it neatly, and dropped it in the motel trash like an expired coupon. That's when I made a decision. No more motel breakfasts. No more sitting on the edge of a polyester comforter wondering if my entire life was just one long, very polite disaster. It was time to take inventory. Not of the past. Not of the marriage. Of the damage. First stop? Our house. Or what used to be our house. I parked 3 doors down like I was planning a heist. The porch light was off. Monica never left it off. Not unless she was with someone. Someone else. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. The house had become more of a museum exhibit, the artifacts of our downfall. I just wanted to see if the chair I always sat in was still by the window. It was. Slightly angled, like she tried to rearrange the room but couldn't quite bring herself to move it completely. That was her. Always halfway through a decision. Back in the car, I opened my notes app. Started a list. Chair, still there. My books, gone from the shelf. Photos of us, replaced or missing. The purge had begun. She was erasing me, one knick-knack at a time. The next morning, I met with a lawyer. Middle-aged, unbothered, and with the kind of wardrobe that screamed, divorce is my cardio. He didn't ask questions about my feelings. Just facts. Kids. 1. Sort of. Long story. Assets. House, car, pension. Infidelity. I nodded. He paused. Yours or hers? Technically, both. I smiled at the absurdity. Mine, 18 years ago. I didn't know. Hers, last week. She knew. He didn't flinch. Just clicked his pen and said, welcome to the middle of the story. It stuck with me. The middle of the story. Not the end. Not the beginning. Just the part where things stop making sense and start getting dangerous. That afternoon, I called Eli again. Asked him to meet me at Millie's. He showed up in jeans and a hoodie, trying to play it cool, but I could see the storm in his eyes. Same storm I had when I was his age. I've been thinking, he said after we sat down. You don't owe me anything. I looked at him for a beat too long. That's not how this works, kid. Blood doesn't care about timing. He fidgeted with a sugar packet. It just feels weird. Like I dropped into your life with a wrecking ball and now I'm standing here hoping you'll offer me a glass of water. Maybe. Or maybe you brought the truth. And the truth's only scary when we've been lying to ourselves for too long. He smiled. Barely. But it was real. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a key. Motel room 214. You want it for the night? He blinked. You sure? Yeah, I said. I think I'm done hiding. We stood outside the diner for a moment, and as he walked off, I felt something strange, relief. Like a brick I didn't know I'd been carrying just slid off my back. That night, I went home. Not to Monica. To my parents' old lake house. Still in my name. Dusty. Cold. But honest. The kind of quiet you earn. I built a fire. Sat down with a legal pad and a glass of scotch. Not to drink away the pain, but to toast it. Like a soldier honors the battle that nearly killed him. That's when I started the second list. This one wasn't about inventory. It was about intentions. Find out who the guy in the photo is. Copy Monica's financials. Meet with Eli's DNA rep. Reclaim every version of myself she tried to rewrite. Because here's the thing Monica forgot, she married a man who reads people for a living. 20 years of grading essays and decoding teenage minds? You get good at spotting liars. Even the ones who wear wedding rings. She thought she could outmaneuver me. But Monica was playing checkers in a house I'd already blueprint scanned for chess. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I'd stop being polite. There's something unsettling about watching your life turn into a strategy board. A house becomes terrain. Bank statements become breadcrumbs. People become pieces. And once you start thinking like that, you realize just how far you've been pushed. Monica always liked order. She labeled everything. Our spice rack looked like a military file system. But the irony is, chaos was her favorite flavor. She just liked to pretend she wasn't the one shaking the jar. I woke up in the lake house with frost on the window and clarity in my chest. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't reacting. I was planning. And I knew exactly where to start. I called Eli. Can I ask you something? I said. Sure. Do you know anything about the man your mom dated before she passed? Silence. I know he had a boat, Eli said finally. And that she smiled more when he was around. Name. I think it was Grant. Grant something. I wrote it down. A lead. Maybe. Or maybe just another dead end in a maze of family secrets. Either way, it beats sitting still. Later that day, I went to Monica's workplace. Not inside. I wasn't looking for drama. Just waited across the street in a borrowed car with tinted windows. A friend owed me a favor. He was in IT and liked spy movies a little too much. Said I looked like I was staging a midlife thriller. I didn't correct him. At 5:37 p.m., Monica exited the building. Not alone. And not just with anyone. Him. Same guy from the photo. Slim. Sharp haircut. The kind of guy who uses the word network as a verb. He laughed at something she said and touched her elbow like they'd done it 1,000 times. She didn't pull away. I took a photo. Just one. Not for revenge. For confirmation. Back at the lake house, I opened a bottle of water, not wine. I wasn't here to blur things. I was here to see them clearly. I added to the list. Grant. Possible tie to Jessica? Monica's new friend. ID needed. Financial trail. Start Monday. The next day, I visited our bank. Separate accounts weren't a thing in our marriage. Monica said it built trust. Ironic, right? But what she didn't count on was me remembering every password we ever set. I logged into our shared cloud, the one we used for household stuff. Found 2 folders I didn't recognize. One labeled receipts. The other, work events. They were neither. Just cover stories. Inside the work events folder were dozens of photos. Her and the new guy. Restaurant selfies. Hotel check-ins. A weekend retreat in Aspen labeled Team Strategy Session. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I created a zip file. Named it. Everything she lied about. And I sent a copy to a flash drive I now kept around my neck. Not because I planned to use it. Not yet. But because control is a better drug than closure. That evening, I met with my lawyer again. I handed him the drive. Do I want to open this? He asked. Only if she decides to play rough, I said. He nodded. And you? I'm not playing. I'm preparing. He gave me a look I hadn't seen before. Respect. Or maybe concern. Sometimes they wear the same face. After that, I drove to Eli's motel. Brought him a burger. Not because I had to. Because no one brought me one when my life blew up. And I figured, if I'm going to be someone's dad, I might as well start by showing up. He was sitting on the floor, laptop open, writing something. What's that? I asked. Essay for school. Need help? He looked up. Actually, yeah. We sat there for a while, shoulder to shoulder like two people trying to build something out of splinters. He asked questions about physics, and I answered them without once thinking about Monica or the man she laughed with. For 1 hour, Betrayal stepped outside for a smoke break. When I left, he handed me the laptop. Can you proofread it? I trust your red pen. I smiled. Dangerous move. Back at the lake house, I edited his essay and realized something. The kid was smart, thoughtful, angry, but not broken. A lot like me, actually. I added one more thing to the list. Don't let this turn you into someone you hate. Because revenge isn't the hard part. Restraint is. And I wasn't planning to lose either. There's a moment in every story where the smoke clears. Not because the fire's out. Oh no, that thing's still burning. But because your eyes just stop watering long enough to see what's left standing. That was me, sipping lukewarm gas station coffee at 6:43 a.m., scrolling through Monica's work events folder for the third time. It wasn't the pictures that got me. It was the details. The kind you only notice when you're not supposed to. A necklace I bought her last Christmas, hanging from the rearview mirror of someone else's car. A shirt she once told me was too flashy for the office, worn while clinking champagne glasses at a rooftop bar. In one shot, she was laughing so hard she had to hold her stomach. And in the background, a second wine glass, already half empty, like the other man was always just out of frame. Right there, just not named. That's when it hit me. This wasn't an affair of passion. It was an upgrade. See, Monica didn't cheat like she made a mistake. She cheated like she was making a trade-in. Husband 1.0 was dependable, boring, emotionally stable. But husband 2.0? Apparently, he had a motorcycle and a skincare routine. Good for him. I sat back and laughed. Honest to God, laughed. Because I'd been sleeping in a lake house with mold in the ceiling and memories in the fireplace, while she was out there cosplaying a rom-com. And here I was, sipping bitterness like it was a breakfast blend. But this wasn't about crying into my cereal. This was about the principle. I called my lawyer. Let's file, I said. Contested or uncontested, he asked. I hesitated. Let's give her the chance to lie first. If she does, we go full apocalypse. Click. That afternoon, I met with Eli again. This time, I brought him to the lake house. He stood in the living room, eyes scanning the walls like he expected ghosts. Maybe he saw them. I sure did. Is this yours? He asked. It was my parents'. Then mine. Then storage. He walked over to a faded photo on the mantel. My mom. My dad. Me, holding a paper airplane like it was the key to the future. You were happy, he said. No, I replied. I was hopeful. Whole different thing. We sat by the fireplace. I asked him about his mom, Jessica. She always talked about you like you were a story, he said. Like some chapter that got edited out. I nodded. She was good at telling stories. She was good at surviving, he corrected. That hit. Not because it was harsh. Because it was true. Jessica raised him alone. Scraped by. Fought. I didn't even know I had a son, and yet he'd grown into someone worth knowing. She did that. Not me. You're a good kid, I said. He looked at me, unsure whether to believe it. Seriously. You're thoughtful. Smart. Probably better than I was at your age. He chuckled. That's a low bar, right? I raised my coffee cup. You'd be surprised. That night, Monica finally called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Adam, we need to talk. I don't know what you think you saw or what you're planning, but this isn't healthy. Eli showing up doesn't give you the right to rewrite our whole life. Rewrite? That's rich. Coming from the woman who color-corrected our marriage for Instagram and deleted the captions when things got too real. Then came the text. Please don't do anything stupid. It was the kind of line people drop when they think they still have leverage. I replied with a photo. One she hadn't seen. Her and the new guy, holding hands outside her office. Taken by yours truly, across the street in a borrowed car with tinted windows. She didn't text back. I stared at the phone, waiting. Nothing. So I did what I always do when the silence gets too loud. I got to work. Pulled out the flash drive, loaded up the zip file. Every photo. Every bank statement. Every hotel receipt from conferences that required room service for two. Then I drafted the email. Subject line. Just in case you forgot who you married. But I didn't send it. Because I'm not here for vengeance. Not yet. I'm here for clarity. I sat on the porch of the lake house that night, wrapped in an old blanket, watching the wind ripple across the water like it was trying to erase itself. Eli came out and sat beside me. You okay? He asked. I shook my head. Not even close. He nodded. Me neither. We didn't say anything after that. Sometimes the best revenge is living long enough to watch them realize you're not broken. You're just done pretending you were okay with all of it. And sometimes, the best weapon? Silence sharpened by truth. Monica finally replied at 2:12 a.m. It wasn't a text, it was an essay. The kind of digital Hail Mary people send when the silence gets too thick and their conscience starts dripping through the cracks. I read it twice, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel angry, just exhausted. The message went something like this. I never planned to hurt you. It just happened. Things got complicated. We got distant. I felt like a roommate, not a wife. Then he listened, and I didn't know how much I missed being listened to. It wasn't about replacing you. It was about remembering who I was. Translation? She tripped and fell into a long-term emotional affair. And somehow, I was supposed to understand because she felt unseen. She ended with, please don't destroy everything over one mistake. One mistake. I didn't even reply. I just powered off the phone and let the lake wind clear my head. Because if there's one thing that keeps betrayal from rotting you completely, it's remembering that their regret is not your responsibility. By morning, the clouds had rolled in. Gray, low, and honest. The kind of sky that doesn't pretend it's going to be sunny again anytime soon. I made coffee. Strong. Bitter. Accurate. Eli joined me on the porch again. He didn't say much, just sat beside me with a piece of toast and a look that said, you good? I nodded, which meant not really, and he nodded back, which meant me neither. That was enough. I told him about the email. About Monica's non-apology apology. He didn't say anything for a while. Then he asked, are you going to let her off the hook? I smiled. There's no hook, Eli. She jumped. He sipped his coffee. So what happens now? Now, I said, we turn the page. After breakfast, I went into town and rented a storage unit. I filled it with every physical memory I could do without. Photo albums, wedding keepsakes, the anniversary quilt her aunt had stitched with our names. Left a note taped to the top box. Take what you want. I'm not looking back. By noon, the lawyer had filed the paperwork. Monica was officially served at 3:47 p.m. Uncontested, with an attached USB drive titled, Evidence of Intent. No anger. No demands. Just a clean presentation of reality. The kind of closure that doesn't scream, it just signs the dotted line. She called an hour later. I let it ring. Then she called Eli. He answered. I heard his side of it from the next room. No, Mom. He didn't tell me what to think. He just told me the truth. No, I'm not taking sides. I'm just not ignoring facts anymore. Yeah, I love you too. But that doesn't mean I'm blind. He hung up, stared at the ceiling for a while, then went back to his laptop like nothing happened. That's when I knew he wasn't a kid anymore. That evening, I drove out to the city and parked 2 blocks from Monica's office. Not because I wanted a confrontation. I just needed to see it. The place where our marriage became a costume party. I watched through the windshield as Monica stepped out with Mr. Upgrade. Same polished haircut, same smug hand placement on her lower back. She wasn't even trying to hide it now. She laughed, head tilted, body language wide open. And for once, it didn't hurt. Because I didn't see her. I saw a stranger. The kind you pass in a grocery store aisle and forget 5 minutes later. I didn't take a photo this time. I didn't need more evidence. I needed peace. And that comes not from watching them fall, but from knowing you already walked away while they were still trying to spin the spotlight. Back at the lake house, I found a note from Eli on the kitchen table. Want to meet Rachel. Said she wants to talk. Don't worry, got it handled. Rachel. I hadn't heard from her since the awkward voicemail fiasco. Maybe he was curious. Maybe he wanted to know more about the woman his mother used to talk about with such reverence. Either way, I trusted him. He was starting to trust himself. Later that night, I sat by the fire with a journal. Yeah, I'm that guy now. The type who writes things down like he's auditioning for clarity. I didn't write about Monica. Or Eli. Or the man who thought he could outdo me by swapping tailored suits for promises. I wrote one sentence. I'm not angry. I'm awake. That's the line no one talks about. The turning point isn't fury. It's freedom. The next morning, the wind changed. So did I? The weather broke the next morning, sunlight over the lake, sharp and gold like it was trying to apologize for everything. But I wasn't in the mood for forgiveness. I didn't need light. I needed distance. Luckily, I had just the thing. A new key. Not to a home. To a storage unit. I walked in, alone, the air inside heavy with cardboard and memories. I stood in the middle and looked around. This was our forever, reduced to boxes, dust, and a single plastic tub labeled Christmas 2013. I sat on a folding chair and opened one box at random wedding photos. Monica in white. Me, younger, wearing a grin I didn't know was temporary. I stared at one photo longer than the rest. Not because it hurt, but because I couldn't remember what that version of me was thinking. Hope, probably. Or something dressed up like it. I took out a Sharpie from my bag and wrote across the top of the frame. He didn't see it coming. Then I closed the box and shoved it to the back of the unit. Some ghosts aren't meant to be carried, just stored properly and left behind. When I got back to the lake house, Eli was there. Sitting on the porch, headphones in, watching something on his phone. He looked up when I parked. Rachel says hi, he said, pulling out one earbud. How was that? I asked. Confusing, he said. But good. She told me about you. The college version. Said you used to recite poetry to annoy her. Sounds about right. She said you ran when things got too heavy. I shrugged. Still working on that. He nodded. Then added, she said she always wondered what would have happened if she'd said yes. Tell her it wouldn't have fixed either of us. He smiled. Already did. We didn't talk much after that. Just grilled burgers and watched the sky shift. I let him pick the music, something loud, young, and full of more bass than melody. It felt appropriate. Around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. Monica. Again. This time it was a photo. Her. Alone. At the beach. The one we used to visit every anniversary. No message. Just the image. Her face unreadable, I squinting into the distance like she wanted me to guess what she was thinking. I deleted it. Some signals are just static in disguise. And me? I was tuning out. Monica officially responded to the divorce papers. No contest. No counteroffers. Just a signature. My lawyer called to confirm. She didn't even request a meeting, he said. Just sent it back. Fast. Good, I said. You okay? He asked. I'm clean, I replied. That's better than okay. I closed the case file and slid it into the drawer. Final. Done. The kind of done you don't second guess. That night, I stood at the edge of the dock with a glass of scotch and the last photo I kept from the marriage. Just one. Us on the couch. A Sunday morning. Coffee. Legs tangled. A moment that felt real. I burned it. Watched the corners curl into black lace and disappear on the wind. Eli came out with his phone. You sure you're good? He asked. Not yet, I said. But I'm free. He handed me his phone. A text from Monica. Tell your father I'm sorry. I handed it back. Tell her, I said, the next time she says that, make sure she's saying it to herself. And just like that, we closed the last chapter. 6 months later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered out of habit. Mr. Keller? A voice asked. You probably don't remember me. My name's Grant. I stood still, dead quiet. I knew Jessica. A long time ago. I stepped outside, walked down to the edge of the dock. I've heard about you. From Eli, he continued. I just wanted to say, thank you for stepping in. I didn't respond right away. I just watched the ripples on the lake. You were probably better than I would have been, he said. That makes two of us, I finally said. Thanks for calling. After I hung up, I didn't go back inside. I just sat on the steps, hands tucked into my sleeves like it was still winter. The house was warm, but the air out here? The air was honest. Eli came out after a while. He sat beside me. Didn't say anything. We stared out at the water together. Quiet. Still. Whole. No need for revenge. The silence was enough. And she'd hear it louder than any word I could ever speak.